afternoon meeting, April 5th meeting. We'll call ourselves to order this time. Welcome, everyone. This time we'll turn it over to Mr. Merrick.
Thank you, Mayor and members of City Council. City Council uses a consent agenda to consider items that are non-controversial and routine. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and voted with the council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a council member or citizen with the consent of council. The consent agenda contains these three sets of items. The first concerns approval and acceptance of minutes and reports, and there are 5 sets of minutes lettered A through E. Item 1F is the disbursement of City Council discretionary funds for this fiscal year. And excuse me, council members are provided $3,000 each on an annual basis for disbursement at their discretion towards items that meet the public purpose definition of permitted items that a municipality is authorized to perform. There were 4 sets of disbursements for this period. The first was Mayor Kilgore disbursed $22 to the Union County Chamber of Commerce. Mayor Pro Tem Duncan disbursed and 2 disbursements, $175 and $200 to the Safer Community Ministry. Councilmember Anderson disbursed $500 to the Christian Family Care Home, and Councilmember Gordon disbursed $1,000 to Turning Point. Item 2 under consent is the consideration of cancellation of supplemental power sales agreement with the North Carolina Municipal Power Agency number 1. And this is for the purpose of authorizing further study of the cost benefits of canceling the supplemental power sales agreement with that agency, and to approve the budget amendment that would fund that study in the amount of $95,000. The study builds on a preliminary assessment that the potential savings of approximately $2 million annually is achievable through constructing a natural gas-fired generation plant to meet the city's supplemental energy needs. The proposed study is to be conducted by Black & Veatch, and this effort will examine thoroughly the feasibility of installing a natural gas-fired generation plant to meet the city's supplemental electrical demand, which is that portion of energy demand that is not met by nuclear power plant supply, which provides a base level of electrical energy. There's a 10-year notice required for canceling the supplemental power sales agreement. The current terms ends in 2028. The city has been advised that a timely notice of cancellation, if this course is pursued, should occur by 2018. Item 3 under consent, there are 3 sets of ordinance amendments. The first of 3 amendments adds section 71.23, which is for the purpose of addressing new North Carolina Department of Transportation procedures for the temporary closure of state roads associated with special events. NCDOT has added a requirement for municipalities to approve each special event, provide signage, and to accept liability for those events. Those city events normally involving closure of state roads include barbecue on May 21st, 4th of July event, Patriots Day on September 11th, and Christmas tree lighting December 3rd. The ordinance delegates authority to the manager or his designee to approve special events that require state road closure. The second of 3 amendments amend Chapter 75, Section 1, which is for the purpose of reducing 4th Street speed limits to 25 miles per hour in the Glenville subdivision. The third and last amendment amends Sections 93.06 and 93.07 to modify the time frame to correct public nuisances. 93.06 addresses nuisances such as furniture and appliances stored outside, fallen trees, junk and debris, by reducing the compliance time frame from 15 days to 7 days. 93.07, section 93.07 addresses nuisance involving debris at rental property by reducing the compliance from 10 days to 7 days. Mayor and members of the City Council, this concludes the summary of items placed on the consent agenda.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion, and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that's passed. That goes to our regular agenda. Item 4, public hearing, consideration of Board of Downtown Economic Development Incentive Grant. Mr. Bourne?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight I'd like you to consider the request from Backstage Vintage Apparel for a Pronto grant. They are located at 100 North Main Street. They relocated to Monroe's downtown from Charlotte Central Avenue. They've opened their business. They are within a few months into the year, doing very well. They are requesting funds in the form of a rent subsidy in the amount of $6,600, which is payable quarterly through that first year. They occupy about 2,200 square feet of space, and the pronto stipulates at $3 a square foot we could award that amount. This comes to you with the recommendation from the Downtown Advisory Board, General Services Committee, and staff that council award Backstage Vintage Apparel, the owners, the Craycrafts, and authorize the mayor to execute all related documents for the Pronto Downtown Incentive, with funds not to exceed the $6,600 for that year.
Okay, any questions, Brian? Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Anyone here who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action.
I move that we award the Pronto Incentive Grant to Backstage Vintage Apparel.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that'll pass. Item 5 is a public hearing. Zoning map amendment request for property located at 2112 Morgan Mill Road.
Good evening, I'm Carrie Hutchins with the Planning Department. Tonight I'm here presenting a zoning map amendment request by J.R.E. Monroe LLC for the property located at 2112 Morgan Mill Road. The applicant is proposing to rezone the subject property from Conditional District 2112 Morgan Mill Road to Conditional District James River Equipment. The subject property is highlighted in blue. It is to the east of Morgan Mill Road and just south of Olive Branch Road.
South of what road?
Olive Branch.
Okay.
The subject property is currently zoned Conditional District 2112 Morgan Mill Road, which was approved in 2014. The conditional district was approved for automotive uses and retained all of the GI general industrial uses. James River Equipment has requested to add retail sales as an allowed use to allow the sales of equipment and repair parts. The request is for the conditionally zoned portion only. This R20 zoned portion of the property will remain R20, which is residential. See, the land uses, the adjoining land uses to the north, east, and west are residential and agricultural. They're currently zoned general industrial. And the uses to the south are, the uses to the south are residential, and they're currently zoned R20 and R10, single family. The applicant is requesting the conditional district in order to allow the retail sales of equipment and repair parts, as well as retain all the GI uses. The site currently has a 6,724 square foot building on the property with a gravel parking lot. And the applicant is proposing to pave a 24-foot wide driveway and a parking area that includes 12 parking spaces. The applicant will also pave a driveway to the gates on each side of the building. The driveway, parking area, and the access points to the back of the property. The applicant is also proposing a new 5-foot wide sidewalk that will extend from the southern portion of the property along the front to the northern tip of the property. And no additional landscaping is being proposed at this time. Here's some site pictures. There's currently a chain link fence that extends around the building and a split rail fence along the front of the property. The applicant did send notification letters to all adjoining property owners within 150 feet of the subject property on February 3rd, 2016, and staff also posted the property and sent the notification letters within 150 feet of the subject property on March 24th. Staff did receive one phone call on April 4th, and the caller was just requesting general information about the proposed rezoning. Planning Board recommends its council approve the zoning map amendment request to rezone the property located at 2112 Morgan Mill Road from Conditional District 2112 Morgan Mill Road to Conditional District James River Equipment, including the adoption of resolution of land development plan compliance.
Is that currently occupied? I can't tell.
They have permits to operate the service and repair, but I do not believe they're currently operating right now.
So there's nothing in there right
I
now?
don't believe so.
We're not operating.
No.
Okay, any other questions?
I know when this was rezoned before, there was some concern by the residential neighbors about the hours of operation and what kind of noise might come from the property. What kind of business is going to be? I know that they want to do sales there, but what kind of work was going to be going on in the property, and what are the hours of operation?
They'll be doing repair work of like heavy construction equipment and tractors and equipment like that. As far as the hours, I think the applicant can probably answer that better than I can.
We'll get him in just a little bit on the public hearing, maybe he'll come speak to us. Any other questions? Thank you, ma'am, good job. This is a public hearing. Is anyone else here who would like to speak in favor? If you will, sir, give your name and address so we can have it for the record, please.
Absolutely. My name is Pat Quinn with 2013A Van Buren Ave. I'm with Eagle Engineering, here to represent the applicant. With me this evening is Ron Morgan with James River Equipment, also to speak for the application and can answer those questions for you as well. Thank you for the opportunity to come up before you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Staff did a great job presenting the project and what we've got going on and what they're proposing. It essentially is taking an existing facility and just utilizing it for what their needs are. Essentially what they can't do right now is the retail portion of their business, retail sales and retail maintenance, sales of equipment and parts. And so that's what they're looking to, for this rezoning, to be able to allow them that opportunity. There's not much more to it. The paved parking and drive aisle is just a requirement of making sure that we're up to code and providing what they have. It's currently impervious, so there's not anticipated change for stormwater runoff. And it's the remaining gravel is going to stay there, so the impervious area is going to be there as well. And there's not much plans for much else on there, but to be able to have the use to allow them to do what it is that their business does. I don't have much else to share. If you have any questions.
One question, you gonna repair heavy equipment?
That would be a great question for Mr.
Yeah.
Morgan.
How will you dispose of the oil?
Everything goes into a wastewater tank, and we have an waste oil disposal company comes and collects it off site.
Do you
Ours-
currently own that property, or are you buying it?
We own the property.
You already own it?
And you were wondering about some hours.
Right, I know that, again, before when we rezoned this, and it sounds like you're already aware that repair work could go on in there, so you just want to expand it. So
Yeah, we're doing no business, since we purchased property, we've done no business at all out of this location. Typical hours of operation are 7:30 till 5,
Okay,
Monday through Friday, and maybe open till noon on Saturday.
okay,
So
okay, that's
it's pretty much the same as Caterpillar's across the street.
Right.
We had John Deere dealership.
okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Hearing none. Is anyone here who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action.
Move to approve.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a motion second. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. All right, item 6, public hearing, zoning map amendment request for property at 514 Miller Street. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm presenting a zone map amendment request filed by the Woda Group for the property located at 514 Miller Street. The request is to rezone the property from general industrial to conditional district Piedmont Buggy Works Apartments. The building was constructed in 1910 and the bearskin cotton mill opened in 1919. The structure proposed for redevelopment is currently listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The applicant is proposing to convert the main existing building into 44 age-restricted residential apartments, add surface parking spaces, picnic area, covered patio, raised garden beds adjacent to the building. Subject property is outlined in blue, is located along Miller Street. This is a zoning map of the area. Again, it's outlined in blue, located along Miller Street. The properties to the north is R10. Properties to the east, south, and west is on general industrial. Properties to the north have a residential land use, and the properties to the south is industrial, and the properties to the west is actually the Don Williams Park. This is a map out of the downtown master plan, and the property does fall within the study area of the downtown master plan up here in the far right corner, and the orange area for a legend for this area denotes high density residential for this area. The applicant requested the conditional district owner to convert the Piedmont Buggy Factory into 44 multi-family age-restricted apartments. They're proposing 24 one-bedroom units that are approximately 670 square feet, and then 22 bedroom units that are approximately 1,000 square feet. A couple things to mention on the site plan. Up there to the north area, the bold line, that's the FEMA floodplain. So they will not be able to encroach in that area with any additional impervious material such as pavement or gravel. There is the main factory as far as is a brick building, and then to the left of that there's a concrete center block building that's attached to it, and then to the left of that is an old, what I call like an old existing mill house. They're proposing to demolish the attached concrete block building, as additionally demolishing the concrete block building located to the rear. Once this building's removed here, obviously you can see that underneath that is it will have parking. Back here at the back, when they move this right here, they're proposing just to sow that back with grass. The house up here, they're going to use that for a combination of either a leasing office and or small storage facilities within the house itself for the tenants. They're proposing a sidewalk along the street frontage, and there'll be landscaping, streetscape buffer, as well as parking lot landscaping and some additional landscaping on the south side to help buffer from the adjacent industrial warehouse. And I'll say one thing too, and you'll see more when I get to the end. As far as the streetscape buffer along the front, if it's approved, that'll be something that's worked out with staff, because there's a tremendous amount of overhead utilities along the street frontage, and so with electric, sometimes we have to work out as far as something that's going to work for them, and also work for plan staff with the landscaping and what we plant, and sometimes if we plant, because there's a tremendous amount of overhead utilities in that area. The applicant is also reserving as required by the ordinance, the Bearskin Creek goes to the north portion of the property. They are reserving a 50-foot undisturbed buffer as required by the ordinance. And additionally, they were reserving for the future Bearskin Creek Greenway Trail 25 feet to be developed by others in the future along that too. They're proposing to have 60 parking spaces for the project. Again, this is age restricted, so 60 parking spaces in keeping with other ordinances from other jurisdictions with regard to age restricted. This is the elevation of the existing facility, and this end over here is out toward Miller Street, and then it falls back, and if you notice on the front end, it's 3-story, and the back end is 4-story, because the property drops off significantly from Miller Street back to the back, where eventually where the creek is, back in the area there. So the building is, it's a 3.5-story building. They're proposing to replace all the windows, and they will clean the brick as much as possible, because since it's on the state historic preservation list, they have to deal with the state with what they can do and what they can't do to the building itself. But they'll have to meet whatever the guidelines through the state historic preservation office they can to replace the windows and to clean the brick on the exterior. The development pattern for the area indicates multifamily units is consistent with the land development plan. The land development plan indicates this area is a strategic neighborhood. The downtown master plan indicates this area is suitable for high-density residential. The development pattern for multifamily units is consistent with the land development plan and the downtown master plan. The applicant sent notification letters to all property owners within 300 feet of the subject property and held a neighborhood meeting on February 29th to solicit feedback from the community. At that meeting, the persons in attendance was basically the applicant and staff. There were no adjoining property owners that attended the meeting, nor did staff receive any phone calls and questions from the neighbors. Plan staff mailed APO letters to all persons within 150 feet of the property, as well as posted the property on March 24th. Staff has not received any feedback from the adjoining property owners that were notified of the meeting. Planning Board recommends City Council approve the zoning map amendment request to rezone the property located at 514 Miller Street from the General Industrial to Conditional District Piedmont Buggy Works Apartments, which includes adoption of the resolution of land development plan compliance. At this time, I'll be glad to answer any questions, and the applicant is here tonight to answer your questions that you may have too.
Okay.
One question, I'm sort of confused. It's gonna be multifamily and age restricted?
Yes, it's for 55 and older, is what it's for. And they can get more of the details, because it was discussed quite a bit at the plan board about what exactly, because you could basically, I could be 55 and my spouse cannot be 55, but we would still be able to qualify to live there, and they've done this in other areas, so they're well versed about what qualifications they are to be able to reside there. But yes, it's for 55 and older.
And it is a floodplain?
It's a floodplain, but the floodplain is not in any area that's currently developed right now. The floodplain now is left completely as is, natural, and they're not proposing to do anything within the floodplain. All their parking area, their dumpster area, all that is outside the floodplain. All the existing buildings on the property are not within the floodplain either. Everything developed on the property is outside the floodplain.
Any other questions?
Is this a tax credit deal, or is this market rents that thing?
It's tax credit. That's how they're proposing is tax credit financing.
Who's the company that's making the request?
They are called the WODA Group.
Which group?
WODA, W-O-D-A.
Any other questions? Hearing none,
Where are they?
I'm sorry.
Where are they out of?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're based out, because it's two companies. I think the one main one is based out of Ohio, if I'm not mistaken.
Do you know who will be managing the complex once it's been built?
In my discussions with them, they will hire somebody to do. They'll have a person who works in the office to do the leasing, and they'll also hire somebody locally that will be maintenance for the facility too. They'll hire that locally here, to my understanding, after speaking with them.
Okay, and I'll ask them when they
Okay.
come up.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is anyone else here who would like to speak in favor of the project? Name and address for the record, please, sir.
I would. I'm Dennis Blackburn. Address is 128 Habersham Street in Savannah, Georgia. You can tell by my accent I'm from Georgia, not from North Carolina. I am Senior Vice President with the WODA Group. We are headquartered out of Columbus, Ohio, and I run the Southeast operations out of Savannah, Georgia. So we are excited about this opportunity to develop this historic property. And I'm here today actually with colleague Jim Peoples from Revolution Incorporated, who is a historic consultant. I think what's absolutely unique about this property is that we would absolutely like to combine the funding structure through tax credits as well as historic tax credits. One thing I think that's missing on that on the design that you see is we definitely want to keep the water tower. I think the water tower is quite it's quite an emblem, and it really is. It goes with the property itself. I'd like to thank Doug for his presentation. We're submitting an application to convert this into 44 units of senior housing. It will be marketed as senior housing for residents over 55 and over. The Woda Group is a national leader in the affordable housing arena, and we actually have over 200 properties throughout the country. We have our own management company, so we manage our properties. I think it's very important is once you build it, you want to be involved in making sure your asset is actually well looked after. So we all look after our properties. We currently have 2 other properties up and running in the state of North Carolina, one in Hickory, which is a 50-unit senior housing, and one in Elizabeth City, which is a 36-unit, also senior housing.
Would it be income-based?
Sorry?
The rent, is it income-based?
Yes, it would be income restricted. It would be age restricted and income restricted. That's how the funding structure comes in.
When will the tax credits run out on it so that you're no longer required to go by the restrictions of income?
It runs out of 15 years, and what we usually do is we prolong it we then usually do an additional application for an upgrade after that.
Okay, and
the compliance period is 15 years.
And once you make this application, if your rezoning is successful, how long will it be before you'll know if you've been approved for the tax credit?
Yeah, the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency will make its allocations in July of this year. And then we would take probably another, I would say, probably 6 months after that to finalize all of the actual plans, building plans, working with the city on the actual building plans, and then start early first quarter of next year.
Okay.
Maybe a one-year construction period.
What happens to the property if you're not one of the successful recipients of the tax credits?
We have a conditional sale on the property. It's conditional upon us getting the actual tax credits from the current owner.
Okay, any other questions, comments? You're done? Thank you, sir. Anyone else here who would like to speak in favor?
Good evening. My name is James Peoples. My address is 1844 North Elm Street, Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm working with Dennis and the Woda Group relative to this development project. I'm more of a historical consultant that would deal with the historical side. Dennis has been educating me on the low-income housing tax credits, which in this case are geared towards age-restricted senior development and workforce housing. The historic side is critical to the project. This is a somewhat unique building, has a lot of historical significance, I know, to your community. There's an intent here very definitively to resurrect the building and rehab the building consistent with National Park standards for that rehabilitation, which are, in this case, quite specific. But the intent here is to marry that development with its commercial use development. And obviously that building, I think most people in this room would probably agree that it doesn't have a great deal of commercial uses at this point given its design, but certainly has excellent residential uses. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Hearing none, is anyone here who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action.
Mayor, just a comment. We've had several groups that have come before us before with tax credit deals, and we've had probably a at least a couple of groups have come before us wanting to do tax credit deal with this property here. And, you know, we've had local developers that have tried to do tax credit deals, and the council's always said that they haven't been interested. And whatever the council does, this would be if they decide to approve it, this would be the first approval that we've done for a tax credit deal in many, many years. And there's going to always be developers that are going to want to do them. So once you've opened that door, then that's a door that anyone is going to feel like they should be able to go through.
Okay. Other comments?
We can certainly do that on a case-by-case basis. Everything that comes before us, of course, it's on a case-by-case basis. We did have, before I was on the council several years ago, we had someone come up and talk to us about that and had some plans, and the council at that time said no. So with that, I'm going to make the motion that we approve.
I'm gonna second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
One, we got one. All opposed? Was that, did you say you?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, all right, you got that considered? Okay. So that approved, that's approved.
Thank y'all for taking the time to come down.
Item 7, a resolution to reappoint Steve Lowder as chair of Monroe Board of.
Let me ask you a question. Do we have to add the resolution to these last motions? I think they said to approve the resolution. Does that need to be? Okay, then I want to amend my motion to add the resolution. And also on the other one, we need to do that too, I believe.
That would be appreciated if you would do that on yours, and if the council would be willing to treat that as amended as well for the other two.
Need to vote on that.
And you would need to.
All in favor? I mean, I have a motion.
You have
Second.
a motion, I made it.
All right, second.
Second.
All in favor of the resolution? Aye. Okay, thank you very much. Now we're on item 7, resolution to reappoint Steve Lowder, chair of Alcohol Board of Alcohol.
Mayor, that is an issue that was raised by the State Alcoholic Beverage Commission. They had noted that this council had appointed Mr. Lowder back in 2012. Under their rules, all appointments are 3 years, and then you can be reappointed. Council appointed Mr. Lowder under its rule. It states that a chair or vice chair that is appointed to a board or commission by the city serves at the pleasure of council. And one of the other issues that comes into play is there is a state statute that impacts city officers, which we would contend Mr. Lowder is, that he gets to serve, or anyone in that position gets to serve until their successor is appointed and qualified. And as we pointed out in the staff report, that means that Mr. Lowder still continues to serve and properly serve. However, in order to ensure that there is not an issue with his continued service, staff is recommending that you go ahead and reappoint Mr. Lowder to serve as the board chair effective January 1, 2016, and he will then have a 3-year appointment, and then there is no question before their meeting that is on April the 12th. The fact that they have a meeting coming up on April the 12th and the ABC folks in Raleigh just raised this issue at the end of last month meant it could not be taken to the Citizens Appointment Committee, and we recommend that you go ahead and act on it at this point in time so there's no issue for their meeting next week.
Move we reappoint.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that's taken care of.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Item 8 is public comment period. Anyone here who would like to address the council? Hearing none, at this time we'll go to closed session. I have someone make a motion for closed session.
I move to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina State Statute Sections 143-318.1, 1A, 1A3, and A4 to prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to the law of the state or of the United States, are not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes. consult with the city's attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the city's attorney and the city council, and to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body, including an agreement or tentative list of economic development incentives that may be offered by the public body in negotiations.
All right, have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Go in closed session? Aye. Thank you. We're going in closed session this time.